Have you ever wondered what the familiar world around you would look like from the perspective of a creature only a few centimeters tall? Today, let's take a look at some games that turn this tiny perspective into surprisingly immersive adventures. A desk lamp suddenly looks like a lighthouse. A skateboard becomes a massive bridge. Welcome to Tinykin, where you play as Milo, a tiny astronaut lost inside a house where everyday objects become giant landscapes to explore. You'll cross carpets like open fields, climb stacks of books like mountains, and ride a bar of soap through the corners of each room. Along the way, you'll gather an army of tiny creatures called Tinykin, each with their own abilities to carry objects, break through obstacles, or form stairways across everyday objects that have now become a colorful world of their own. Chibi Robo puts you in control of Chibi, a tiny robot standing just 10 centimeters tall, bought by the Sanderson family as a birthday present. From Chibi's perspective, an ordinary house becomes a massive world waiting to be conquered. You'll climb kitchen cabinets as tall as buildings, crawl beneath beds as wide as caves, and use a toothbrush nearly as big as your entire body to scrub away dirt. Every action consumes battery power, forcing you to keep returning to the power outlets scattered around the house, and even those outlets can be almost out of Chibi's reach. If Chibi Robo turns housework into a peaceful adventure, Hypercharge Unbox turns that same kind of house into a full-scale battlefield. You play as a plastic toy soldier fighting to protect hypercores from an army of corrupted toys. The battlefield stretches from toy stores and living rooms to garages and children's bedrooms, where you scavenge resources around the house to build turrets and barricades, defending your base against waves of enemy attacks. A single drop of smoothie is enough to send your tiny car sliding straight off the track. Micro Machines puts you behind the wheel of miniature cars racing across some of the most familiar surfaces around the house: breakfast tables, pool tables, bathtubs, and even dirt-covered gardens. The tracks aren't built by professional designers. They're made from everyday objects. Playing cards become obstacles, spilled cereal turns into a muddy swamp, and the edge of the table becomes a cliff with nowhere to go. First released in 1991 and brought back across multiple generations of consoles, Micro Machines basically kicked off the whole racing through a giant world genre that so many games followed. A simple toolbox sitting in a shed can suddenly become a terrifying boss. In It Takes Two, Cody and May, a married couple on the verge of divorce, are magically turned into dolls and forced to survive inside their own home and garden, which now feel enormous. Their journey takes them from a tool-filled workshop to the tree in their backyard, where an entire squirrel society has made its home, and eventually into their daughter's room, where ordinary toys become dangerous worlds of their own. Each player has their own unique ability, forcing the two of you to work together to overcome everyday objects that have now become massive obstacles. What would a familiar park look like if you were only 1 centimeter tall? Bee Simulator lets you take on the role of a honeybee, flying through a recreation of New York's real Central Park. From a bee's perspective, everything looks different, with flower beds, bushes, and even people appearing much larger than they normally would. You'll weave through every corner of the park, collect pollen for your hive, and fight against aggressive wasps, all built to the scale a real bee would actually see. While Bee Simulator lets you peacefully fly between flowers, Empire of the Ants turns a familiar forest into a brutal battlefield for survival. You play as the ant leading an entire colony through a real forest in France, where even a tiny fallen branch can become a massive bridge. You'll explore the wilderness, command your ant army in battle, and form alliances with other creatures as you fight for territory, all rendered with such realistic visuals that it can feel like watching a nature documentary about an entirely different world. A Game Boy lying on the ground can become a gigantic treasure that takes an entire afternoon to conquer. Pikmin 4 takes you and your tiny army of creatures through gardens, houses, and beaches, with each location becoming a massive maze where familiar objects turn into treasures with brand new names. You'll use Pikmin to break through obstacles, fight other creatures, carry enormous objects back to your base, and manage your growing army before night falls, when everything becomes far more dangerous. As a creature less than 2 centimeters tall, Smalland takes you into the Overland, a vast and mysterious world filled with giant insects, harsh weather, and ancient human ruins. Grass becomes a dense forest, while ordinary trees tower above you like enormous skyscrapers. You'll gather resources, build your own shelter, tame grasshoppers, dragonflies, and spiders, and turn them into mounts as you explore this massive wilderness. If Small Land takes you into a fantastical wilderness, Grounded drops you straight into a very real, very ordinary backyard. Except now, every blade of grass towers several times above your head. You'll chop down giant blades of grass for materials, build shelters in a yard filled with enormous spiders and aggressive ants, and find somewhere safe before night falls, when every creature in the backyard becomes far more dangerous. And those were 10 games that turned familiar things into something truly gigantic. Which game impressed you the most? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more unique gaming ideas. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.